Good evening and welcome to a very special Oso Fumar Takes live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. It's going to be a fantastic show, a very special combination show with the Smoking Syndicate. We got roundtable number 16 coming your way, but before we get to formal introductions of our panelists, our honored panelists, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. That, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate has announced it once again. Yes, Liga Privada Porchetta is back on the menu as exclusively at Casa de Monte Cristo. Drew Estate proudly announces the return of the highly anticipated Liga Privada Unico Serie Porchetta for 2024 in collaboration with Casa de Monte Cristo. The exceptional culinary-inspired cigar now comes with an updated footband and corner sticker reflecting its 2024 release. Renowned for its unique flavor profile reminiscent of the traditional Italian roasted pork dish, the Liga Privada Unico Serie Porchetta is once again available exclusively at Casa de Monte Cristo retail locations. Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate from the Wynwood Safe House, pontificates Porchetta is a meaty, in-your-face, turbulent journey of flavor and aroma. It's hard-hitting yet smooth, kind of like Larry Holmes' jam, powerful but controlled. Our 2024 release continues this legacy of depth of complex notes, same blend, updated cabinet, updated packaging. Go figure. Go to Casa de Monte Cristo today and pick up your Drew Estate Liga Privada Unico Serie Porchetta. And welcome, everybody. This is our 307th take, along with roundtable number 16. It is my pleasure to welcome in tonight's guest, sponsored by United Cigar. Smoke one today and start living united. We have Will Cooper, Dennis Fang, Aaron Nielsen, Trip Waldrop, and special panelist guest, Mr. Matt Booth. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Fantastic, Bear. How are you doing?
Oh, just
I've missed you, man.
I've missed you, man. This is going to be one awesome heck of a show. So we're really excited about it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody on this fine Sunday evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good to see you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been.
I don't know. We can probably get into this a little bit more, but it's been an interesting several months post PCA. I feel like, that was many moons ago. But just the buzz around the industry doesn't seem to be quite like it was in years past post event. So I'm glad we all get to connect for whatever reason tonight, but the main reason being great to see you guys always.
Hell yes.
Yeah. It's I kind of agree with that, Aaron. I think it's interesting, like this time of year, we're kind of still riding high from the buzz of the trade show that would have happened back in July or something. And it's just kind of almost kind of like, I don't know, it just feels a lot different. It feels a lot different than usual. But nonetheless, I mean, if we could bring the mood down even more, actually, I mean, one of the reasons we're meeting tonight is to in honor of one of our panelists who obviously couldn't join us tonight, Mr. Ben Lee. The Smoking Syndicate is his baby, and but we're putting together a great roundtable in honor of him and all of his neighbors in Western North Carolina. We'll be talking about Operation Airdrop here in just a little bit, but we wanted to bring awareness to that great organization that's doing great things for the folks in Western North Carolina as they recover from Hurricane Helene. Who would have figured, man? 2024 hurricanes and mountains. I mean, it's pretty insane. So,
yeah, Bear, it's interesting. I was talking to Ben when this thing was happening. I said, Ben, we're in North Carolina. You're 350 miles off the coast. This thing's coming inland. You're not getting a hurricane. Like, don't worry about it. And honestly, I learned a lesson from that because that area is like, I've never seen any sort of devastation within a 2-hour radius of my house ever. And it's bad. So I feel bad. But it goes to show you, gotta look out for these types of things.
Weather's a peculiar thing. I mean, Coop, you fared pretty right. Okay. I mean, you're in Charlotte.
We had a lot of rain.
But that was it.
We had the rain, but it was interesting because there's a highway that cuts up from South Carolina up to like Virginia and Kentucky called I-26. And basically, if you were at I-26 or west, you got pounded by this thing, and if you were east, you didn't. My daughter, who lives in and her husband, they live in Columbia, South Carolina. They got hit pretty bad. They had some physical damage to the house. Everyone's okay. Not to the level that Asheville got hit, but it's kind of due south, about 100 miles south of Asheville, or 150 miles south of Asheville. So again, you just don't know with these types of things.
Well, I would love to say that this is the first time a hurricane has affected one of the members on our team, but Trip, you've been hit by one too. So
Ben
we got another one coming on Tuesday, dog.
Ben's been through multiple.
It's coming like it's right in my face. That's what's going to happen. Hurricane to the face.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we fare. We may not have power for most of this week.
Yeah. Ben was hit by Katrina, I believe, when he was living in the Gulf. So Ben's been hit by multiple hurricanes. This ain't his first go around with a hurricane, but in the mountains, I think he never expected it.
Yeah, it's just it's unbelievable the devastation that we're seeing in Western North Carolina. But we're gonna be smoking a cigar, fantastic one here in just a few moments, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. But again, wanted to thank Mr. Matt Booth for joining us. We're going to be smoking one of his cigars and reviewing it. So Matt, thanks again for joining us tonight for a very special round table. And hope you're doing all right there on the West Coast. Nothing crazy weather happening up there or anything.
Dude,
right?
I wouldn't have missed it. And we're, the only weather we're getting is on the TV, and we're watching this thing unfold with everybody, and obviously our thoughts are with everybody, man.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Well, welcome, Matt. We really appreciate it. So what before we kind of get started, I know Dennis just had to walk away for just a quick second, but what just for everyone out there who's never actually been part of one of our roundtables, we're going to go through this cigar. We're going to talk about the specs obviously here in just a few moments, but we're going to go by thirds. And for those of you who are tuning in live, you get the special commentary in the middle. So I've prepared some questions. I've mixed in my own segments for my own show, and kind of we're gonna have some fun with some things that we're gonna try to have as much fun as possible in the wake of a horrible disaster. But we got some fun questions, so there should be entertaining content, and then we're gonna smoke what we all hope is going to be a tremendous cigar tonight. We'll be giving our thoughts throughout each third of the cigar. And at the conclusion of the evening, we're going to be giving a score on the dreaded 100-point scale. 100 being absolutely perfect, 0 being should never have left the factory or even smelled tobacco in the first place. I don't know where I could have come up with a better metaphor for 0, but that's the scale. That's where we're going with, and that's how we're going to be rolling tonight. So. Coop, if I'm going to go ahead and go through some specs, and then you can add some commentary. I know because this and Matt, I know as well. You guys can talk a little bit about this. Is a very special project within the Room 101 brand because this is its third iteration. But what we're going to be smoking tonight is the third iteration, which is now produced at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez in Esteli, Nicaragua. The Room 101 Johnny Tobacconaut consists of an Ecuadorian Connecticut shade wrapper over a Mexican undisclosed binder and Nicaraguan undisclosed fillers. We are smoking the Toro size, which is a 6 by 52. Comes in boxes of 20s. It's also available in a Robusto 5x50, a Perfecto 6x56, and much to Coop's delight, a 6x60 Gordo. All of the Vitolas come in boxes of 25, with the exception of the Perfecto, which comes in boxes of 10. So, but Coop, tell us a little bit more about the history of this blend, and Matt, I'd love to get some of your thoughts as well too.
Yeah,
I have thoughts.
Yeah, what's interesting is I remember this blend when it came out, when Room 101 1.0, maybe 2.0, depending how you look at it. But it's when Matt was partnered with Davidoff for a lot of that production and distribution. And I think it was released, Matt, I want to say 2015 it came out.
That is correct.
Yeah, I remember I remember it was New Orleans that I saw this in the last show in New Orleans. And I think it was a great cigar. And that was an all Nicaraguan cigar at the time. And then obviously when you retired and came back, certain things changed in the portfolio, and some of the brands started coming back. And the second release of this, I believe, went to Luxury Cigar Club.
That's correct.
Yep. So far, so good. And at last year's trade show, the third iteration was released, which is the one we're smoking here. What was really interesting about this, Matt, There was a cigar you had, and Bear and I are really familiar with this cigar, but we're going way back into the archives of Room 101, the Room
Oh
101
my.
Connecticut, the Room
Oh
101,
yeah.
Mhm.
which in my opinion was one of your unsung. It was it came out the same year as Namakubi, I remember,
Mhm.
Right.
but
Mhm.
it was equally as good. And I know it made a very lasting impact on Bear and I. And I think when we saw and tasted this cigar, not to give too much away, back at the trade show, at least I got memories back of that Room 101 Connecticut here. And so I was really happy to see this, and that to see this come back as a Connecticut, I was very excited because I know what you've done with Connecticut's in the past, especially that one.
Well, dude, I have a specific angle that I like to approach Connecticut from because if it bears my mark, it needs to please me as well as hopefully the masses. Maybe they find it moderately decent. Maybe it's a universally accepted moderately decent cigar, but I think it's fantastic. And my twist on Connecticut is basically, I need it to give me more activation. I needed to be smooth and sophisticated, but I also needed to give me force in my nose if I choose to retro, and I needed to give me enough spice and body um to drive, the mouth smoking experience. And I think that correlates with, I mean, that's just my personal preference, but I think that combination um makes for a Connecticut experience that the lighter body to medium body smoker is going to not be scared off by, that it's going to be pleasant and smooth everywhere it needs to be. But the smoker that typically favors a stronger, burlier smoking experience is still going to be kept tuned in to this blend because of the way that it performs on retro, and this one specifically because of its three region filler composition from Nicaragua, from the different regions. Man, it's an activating smoking experience. It's my favorite blend that we make, quite frankly, for my personal smoking.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it got a lot of attention from our team coming out of the trade show as well. And it was like I said, I think we talked about the packaging as well on this thing. And it's you, man. But it's innovative, it's creative, it's sleek, and like I said, even the bottom of the box is pretty cool. This is the bottom of the box, which I've never seen a design on the bottom of the box.
So fancy. Get lifted.
I know. I thought it was really cool with that. So
Get
yeah,
lifted.
yeah. And we're smoking Toros tonight, everybody, right? The 6x yeah. So we're gonna be
6x50, 6x52. Aaron, Aaron, now I know you. Of course, you've bought the box several times on this cigar. What Vitola do you typically gravitate towards?
So I would say a majority of the cigars that I purchase are Toros. And I've had the Johnny Tobacconaut in a couple different Vitolas, and I'm glad we're reviewing the Toro because it is my favorite Vitola in this line. So
Awesome.
good to come. I can't wait to fire it up for my probably 400th time. But guess what? It'll probably be number 399.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just in case anyone's tuning in, Aaron's spoiling a little bit of probably what will be his end result. But as a reminder of tonight's experience, again, the roundtable is all about the cigar in front of us. I believe everyone here has actually smoked this cigar. And has their opinions in place. But what we try to do is judge the smoking experience that we have. And so, as I've explained before, sometimes we might enjoy a cigar and it just does not hit right that night, and so that score might be reflective of that. Or we may not have favored it in the past, and for whatever reason, it hits the palate just right, and they get a more favorable score than what we normally would have accustomed to giving. So it's all about smoking in the moment. And that's what the roundtable is all about. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and crack these babies out of the cellophane. Matt, you sound looks like you're already lighting up. Are you smoking a Johnny Tobacconaut, or are you smoking something else?
I am smoking Uncle Lee.
All right.
I should have smoked Johnny Tobacco. I could go fetch it. I could.
That's
when I'm
totally
done,
up to
I'll
you.
go grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, real quick on you. What do you first notice about after you break the cigar out of the cellophane? What do you notice about your Johnny Tobacconaut?
Bro, notice the girth of that cello though.
Well,
Before you go to the rod, go to the sheath.
the sheath,
Look
I
at the
will
quality.
say it is quite firm. I will say the sheath is sturdy, is I think a good way to put
You
it.
see what I'm saying?
Right? It's sturdy. And now the cigar itself, to that point, sturdiness, the firmness, the uniformity of the firmness of the cigar, I really dig. Generally, when I pick up a cigar to my humidor, if it feels like this, I know I'm going to have a good smoke, and that's partially because I haven't screwed up the humidification of the cigar. But again, the other side of it is the quality of the tobacco, I think. And I've had so many of these that I'm excited to smoke it. So maybe I'm not the best. I'm a little jaded, if you will.
Hey, Matt, I have a question, or maybe we'll say this. So, Bear, if I'm going down a route that we shouldn't yet, but question for Matt: is this rolled into bar?
Yes.
I knew it had to be because I guess. Okay, thank you. Nah, that's all I got for
You're
now.
welcome.
Yeah.
This Connecticut shade wrapper is beautiful.
Mhm.
It's got that butterscotch quality to it almost, which I just love in a Connecticut shade wrapper.
Go deeper, Coop. Look at the sexual striations in the seams where the wrapper
Veins.
overlays.
Striations.
Not the veins, the striations.
Striations.
As if they are the stretch marks on the neither meats of, I mean, whatever type of human you're interested in seeing those meats on. I don't judge.
You got to give him credit.
The heart
He did
knows
say
what it wants.
He did say butterscotch, Matt. So I mean, you got to give him credit. He did go. He went pretty deep with that.
That's what
Is
I'm talking
anyone?
about.
I've got again. I agree with everyone's assessment so far. I do. I think it's a beautiful wrapper. Does anyone have any? I would still say that they're. I mean, they're not like from afar away. To me, it doesn't have anything. But when you pull it up close, there's obviously a lot of. For mine, there's a little bit of tooth to it, which I found a little bit rare in a Connecticut shade. I mean, it's not ugly. It doesn't like give off vibes of like a Connecticut broadleaf type of tooth. But does anyone have anything like that going on with their wrapper?
Yeah, I was gonna say that for a Connecticut, like this wrapper is substantial. A lot of times you get those Connecticut's where it's got like that paper thin, super thin, super fragile looking wrapper. This one, I mean, to steal a word from Matt, this has a girthy wrapper.
It has girth.
That is a thick,
girth.
heavy wrapper.
It's deluxe, man. We're not fucking around.
I mean, Matt. I mean, obviously, I mean, you're pointing it out in jest, but I mean, I think there was some intention behind that too, right?
It's not. I mean, look, I'm just being myself. It is girthy. It's a high. All these materials are high grade, man. It's a premium cigar through and through, from construction to the grade of materials, and quite frankly, to the blend composition, which all leads to its performance under combustion, man. It's a highly erotic cigar.
Now, with the you mentioned a little bit about the tobaccos in the tobaccos a second ago. So is with the undisclosed Mexican wrapper, I mean, one would assume that it might be San Andreas. I'm not trying to get you to tip your hand on everything that you're not willing to disclose. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the fillers are all Nicaraguan from AJ's Farms, from Condega, from Jalapa, and from Esteli.
Nice. Wonderful. Okay. Well, guys, I say we go ahead and cut and light this bad boy up and give our first impressions, unless anyone has any additional thoughts real quick.
Well, I was going to ask, how is everybody cutting their cigars? We're talking straight cuts, V cuts, punch. What's your deal?
Personal preference. It's always personal preference.
Yeah, personal preference. I'm doing a straight cut.
I'm doing a straight cut with our perfect cut. I'm using.
Yeah,
so
I went with the very rare punch.
Oh, I would say
95%
of the time on this show, it's straight cut.
Yep.
Except if Surgeon's on, it's another story. He's always going to go V cut.
He's always the V cut.
He's got to get that deep,
Canadian,
deep
so, I mean, it's got to be different, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Well, he is the surgeon. He is surgical.
He is.
So much to everyone's delight on this, I busted out the Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation cutter for everybody. So there you go.
Those are in demand. Those are in demand. I'm hearing people want those again.
I've got one for sale. You know, they can have it for free 99.
A prelude to prelude to an Academy Award that'll probably come out his way for you, Bear.
Oh God.
I miss him. You know, the Mirage, they tore the Mirage down, Bear. We never really got to have that moment taking you through the Mirage where Chevy Chase ate breakfast with his family.
Well, it's coming to the holiday season. If it's like last year, Bear, I'll pay for your plane ticket to come to Rockford. He's usually showing Christmas Vacation and going like scene by scene of what his thoughts were. So yeah, I'm sure
Oh,
front row for
God.
that.
I will help with that, by the way. I'll help make that happen.
It'll be my pleasure to fly Bear in for that. I'm gonna live stream it the whole time watching Bear's face.
Right.
Well, last year he fell asleep when we live streamed. He fell asleep.
Hey, you know what? And I'm a man of honor, though. I woke up and I watched the whole fucking thing again. So, because I was like, you know what? I'm a man of my word, and I subjected myself alone to watching that bullshit. So I'm using my ST DuPont Fluo lighter.
I'm using mine as well.
Fancy
Get a
pants,
nice
boys.
little. Anyone did anyone do anything on the dry draw? Like I noticed a couple of, I mean, not terribly spicy, not terribly earthy. There wasn't like this really dominant note for me on the dry draw. But the dry draw is perfect though in terms of like that milkshake draw that we kind of talked about. For me, I don't know.
Well, that's why I asked Matt if he's into bar, because I've smoked, like all of us have smoked a couple of these, and my draw has been absolutely perfect on all of them. So just
man, when we brought this blend back, we first debuted it at a trade show in Las Vegas, which is traditionally somewhat unkind to our products, the climate there, right?
And Connecticut shade in particular.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about something that stereotypically would be a little bit more on the delicate side, that would be more susceptible to becoming airsick from shipping and then being dry, and I sampled everyone too, and the purpose was that they would take one home and give it the proper TLC in their humidor, but I wanted them to smoke it in Vegas under those conditions, man. And that cigar, I mean, they weren't hellaciously dry.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
But they performed in that climate. You know what I mean? Like they're and they definitely weren't. I mean, look, nothing is 100% on the trade show floor. It's just not, right? Impossible. But they still perform. They perform under pressure, I guess is what I'm saying.
We were at the Forged booth last year, and we're always about free samples, right? But Forged is very generous with their samples, right? And we had gotten some of these, and some of us had smoked them, and some of us hadn't. And Bear was actually, I think, the first one to smoke this. He's like, guys, you got to smoke this cigar, is what he was telling us. He says it was ready to, like, it was, because we've had issues with that too. A lot of times we'll put the cigars away for a few weeks, and it was ready to smoke. Because I remember you and I did that live stream. We interviewed you kind of after the trade show, and I smoked it that day for the first time, and it was absolutely the case.
I fucking love that blend, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
They did it, and it was a good. I thought it was a good regular production release for your brand in general. To have it's a definite cigar for anybody. Like I said, we'll get into more of the details and the particulars of it as we get into it. But obviously, we've been high on this cigar, some of us. So
wonderful. Well, let's talk about some first impressions. Aaron, what Roma's first notes on the first couple of puffs? Why don't you kick us off here?
Yep. So for me, obviously, as I mentioned, I would say probably medium body, perfect draws. We talked about. I get a kind of dry woody cedar, is part of my initial take. I also get a little bit of the cream, which I love, and then I would say it's not a black pepper, more like a white pepper. Depends if you retro too. So Matt talked about the retro. I think this is one of the cigars. It's not every cigar, as we all know. But this is one of the cigars that in my opinion, to get what it's truly, I think what Matt envisioned for me is to retro, because I think the nuances of the cigar will come through when you retro it. So that's kind of what I get off this initial, I don't know, little bit, if you will.
I mean, you have to make something that performs on the mouth, because that's, I believe, where the majority of the smokers keep the experience. Like, I think it's the minority of smokers that retro. I'm not saying few people do it. I'm saying far less than the people that use uh, that strictly stick to mouth smoking. And the idea was to go down the middle. Like I love retro and I love sharp white spice through the retro, and that's what I needed in this cigar.
Amen, brother.
Yep.
Nice. Trip, what about you? First impressions here.
I mean, kind of right what Aaron was saying. Like that kind of sweet cedar kind of flavor going on. Definitely medium bodied, little bit of sweet, little bit of wood, little bit of spice. But then the retrohale is like what really brings it out for me. Like to me, this is very solidly like medium minus. The retrohale is not going to be for everybody. If like not for the faint of heart, I don't think, because it's pretty serious on that white pepper, which is right up my alley.
Got some
My
good
man.
to it. All right. Coop, what about you? Like anything different than what we've been hearing so far, or is it pretty consistent across the board for you too? I know you talked a lot about a cream in your initial review of this on Cigar
Yeah.
Coop.
There was cream, and then the sweetness is almost like an extension of like a natural tobacco note, and to me it was a slight citric note, but it wasn't an acrid citric. It's a nice sweetness I'm getting off of it, not that astringent taste or anything like that. So it's very clean, and that's just imparting a nice amount of sweetness onto this for sure. I definitely would put the nicotine level in the cigar at mild to medium. It's not heavy, and the body of the cigar is like medium minus, like Tripp said. The flavors, it's I think it's the perfect levels for both of those with this particular smoke here. So, off to a really nice start here.
And
I
Coop,
feel fucking vindicated.
and Coop, I would
vindicated.
echo a little when you get when the retro, you do get a little bit of that citrus, like
Yes.
a
Yep.
grapefruit or something like that. I don't, which is like a sweet.
It's like a sweet grape. It's not, sometimes I get that like the rind of the citrus, which is bitter. It's not
Pithy.
a bitter. It's not astringent. It's very clean, is what I'm going to say.
Dare I say pithy to a degree. And I think for me in the retro, I'm getting something akin to a nori. If you continue to talk about sushi, you get the seaweed on the outside, the sushi nori. There's the little bit of dryness to it, but there's that quality of the white pepper that Matt talked about that's really cool. It's definitely, to me at least, is kind of like a nori quality to it, which is cool.
A little salty.
A little bit, yeah. There's some minerality to it, which is really nice.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of the similar notes that you guys are talking about. I think the one particular note that stands out to me that y'all haven't mentioned yet, for me in my experience, is I'm very much getting like a very cereal like breadiness that kind of hits the palate for me. And it's almost like sweet cereal, not quite like Frosted Cheerios or anything like that. Not that ostentatious, but like just kind of like a sweet cereal kind of breadiness that it's kind of dominating the palate for me. There is some really nice creaminess too as well. So maybe that's where I got like cereal in my head a little bit with it. I do agree on the retrohale, which I typically try not to retrohale too soon in the smoking experience. That was something that Klaus Kellner taught me a few years ago. Just because I was very much like a retrohale from beginning to end. Like that was how I used to smoke, and Klaus taught me to like really kind of savor it on the palate and enjoy it before you start experimenting with other senses. But I have retroheadless, and I get a beautiful clean, like what Coop was saying, a very clean citrus note to it as well too. So so far a very enjoyable experience, consistent with other times that I've smoked this cigar. Matt, I wanted to ask you before we take a break here and do some fun content and for the edit, but Coop was talking about back in the day with the original Room 101 Connecticut that you did. It seems like to me like the branding of what you'd like to call affectionately Johnny P Tobacconaut, what we're smoking tonight.
Jonathan P. Yes.
Jonathan P Tobacconaut.
Yes.
The coloration reminds me of both the early Tobacconaut series, but it also reminds me of that early Room 101 Connecticut. Was there any homage to the early 101 in Connecticut, or was it just it really was a throwback to the original Tobacconaut?
I mean, honestly, the genesis for all the this current branding was the original Tobacconaut, was a nod to that. But the original production Connecticut was still in line with the personality and the dynamics that I look for personally in a Connecticut blend, and the style of Connecticut that I want to put my brand on. I think Johnny Tobacconaut and the journey of that brand through blend evolution is, it's what that blend would have been today. It's what it is today, right? Whether it be the original Connecticut or Johnny Tobacconaut, right? That's kind of like the Room 101 signature Connecticut style.
Perfect. Well, we're going to take a quick break here, guys, and we're going to come back to our. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you'll catch the next third here in just a little bit. But for those of you tuning in live on Facebook, you're going to get the real content right here. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
And we're back with the roundtable number 16, smoking the Johnny Tobacconaut from Room 101 Cigars, the Toro size. I'm here with Will Cooper, Trip Waldrop, Dennis Fang, Aaron Nielsen, and none other than Matt Booth himself. We're going through this panel tonight. So, Aaron, I know I kicked things off with you on the first part of the cigar, but I want to come back to you as well. What was that first third smoking experience like for you?
Yeah, it was great. As I've kind of hit on the first part, it was the creamy, the white pepper through the retro, so some sweetness. The burn, I had to tap the ash, but I mean, it was stacking dimes for, a good quarter of an inch or whatever it may be. One of the things, you joked about me, I am a fast smoker. And one of the things that I did when I was asking Matt about being rolled into bar, I have to be very careful with this cigar, as I've as I've had many, not to smoke it too quickly, because the draw is I would say on the looser side. So it's not like you're having to really work at it. If I'm not careful, I can smoke this thing pretty quick, and so it's burning great. But for those that smoke quickly and with this kind of looser-ish draw, take your time with it, because you may be smoking a Toro in about 30 minutes. So so far so good. Love the cigar, and very enjoyable thus far.
Awesome. Any flavor notes pretty consistent with your first impressions, or anything different?
I can tell, yeah. So first third, I can tell as it's going along here. I think I would say the white pepper might be shifting a little bit more towards the black pepperish note, and then I would say there's a little bit of caramel coming, like a caramel note. Like the creaminess is there, but the sweetness is morphing a little bit to more of like a caramel type sweetness. But other than that, it's remained pretty consistent, still medium bodied, putting off good smoke, burning great.
Awesome. Coop, what about you?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Aaron said. The draw. Well, here's how I describe the draw. It's not a loose. I didn't think it was loose, Aaron, but I thought it was what I call open. So,
Open.
but yeah, you're right. Like I said, I think it's good for a novice will really appreciate that as well. Some of us like to work the draw a little more, but that's like I said, that's not hearsay. It's controllable. It's fine. There's no negatives on that. The burn is outstanding on this thing too. I've really touched this up, not at all to go out there. I get these a nice, I use this term natural tobacco flavor. I get. And it's kind of a catch-all because I'm getting some of that sweetness that Aaron talked about. And then it's balanced by a little bit of bitterness, but that's not a bad thing. As we've talked about, sometimes when you balance a little bitterness with that, it makes for a better flavor a lot of times. So I'm getting some of that as well. I also agree with you, Aaron. The white pepper is kind of transitioning to a black pepper for sure on that. So I do agree with you on that as well.
Matt, as you've smoked many of these and going through the blending experience, was there anything that you were looking for from those when you were, wanting to go from like first to, the first third to the second third? Any transitions that you were looking for throughout the smoking experience that you wanted to experience consistently through the cigar?
Yeah. I mean, I had a very specific vision for this blend. and the way that it was to perform and the experience for the smoker was going to be, right? And when I sat down with AJ, this was kind of in the new beginnings of what was to become the new lifespan of Room 101, and I needed to check the boxes on, several different experiences that I felt at the time were missing from our product offering, because my goal has always been to create a very well-rounded collection of experiences, but each individual uh experience to be well-rounded within itself, right? And so I sat down with him, and he's a phenomenal, I mean, one of the greatest, right? I fucking love that dude, man. I really do. And I sat down with him and he said, what do you need a Connecticut? I said, yeah, I need a Connecticut, and he said, what are you looking for? And I said, I need the Davidoff Anniversary #3 with testicles. And I want it to perform this way. I need the cream, I need the balance, and I need the sophistication, but I need it to be rock star in the nose. And I need it to have presence. I need it to have a command presence on the palate without being overbearing in any dimension of its personality that it offers, right? Like you guys have called out several of these signature character traits for this blend. As you're burning, as it's combusting, and it's giving you this experience. Not one time have I heard that there's some sort of overbearing component. You know, it's got power and potency, but it's balanced and sophisticated, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I believe you have in your pretty little mouths right now.
This brings about a good question for you, Matt, before we get to Trip and Dennis on their thoughts here. But
you ask it.
You've consistently over the years, every iteration of Room 101, every iteration of these particular blends have specifically gone after a dynamic of tobaccos where you really don't have like a specific wheelhouse that you're in. It's not like you're really attached to Ecuadorian Habano, or you're really attached to this particular tobacco in Nicaragua. In fact, you've manufactured cigars out of all three major non-Cuban cigar manufacturing countries. So I mean that's challenging, and that's challenging its own, but I mean what specific about the variety really has allowed to your blending style? Is it just how your palate works? It's just you're always looking for the right combination as opposed to a specific signature, or what? Because it just doesn't seem like you really favor any particular tobacco like some of your colleagues do.
I mean, I have my personal favorites, right? But I'm also in the cigar business, right? And I know that it's my, or at least I feel that it's my responsibility to offer as comprehensive of a collection of experiences as I can under my mark, and so, and I'm glad you brought up, the multiple country manufacturing philosophy that we have. I believe wholeheartedly that not only, do you need to modify by, blend composition to provide different experiences, you also need to cook in different kitchens, because you could give one of these blend formulas or another to a different manufacturer, and they could procure the materials from the exact same source, and put them together with the exact same blend mixture, and it would simply taste different because it would have their touch to it too. And part of it is their own personal magic. And, like they say, different cook, different kitchen, different flavor, so my vision for our brand is that it will be a collection of experiences. If it was the same cigar with a bunch of different bands on it, it's a very monotone experience, and I'm looking for, I mean, obviously I want people to everyone's going to kind of find their favorites throughout our collection, because it's all based on personal preference and your own personal tastes and whatnot. But if someone parks their car in the Room 101 lot, they're going to find that every little space has a different flavor. and that they can explore freely. I think that the only universal theme that I want people to understand is relevant across all of our blends is the quality, right? Quality of materials, quality of composition and construction. And after that, it's about, having a vast variety of experiences.
Also, Drip, how was the first third experience for you?
Very good. I'm noticing that that citrus that Coop talked about has been slowly working its way into the palate. The retrohale, kind of like Aaron talked about, like it's calmed down maybe a little bit, but it's gotten more complex. Like there's more layers to that spice on the retrohale than there was before.
I agree with you on that trip for sure. The retrohale is several layers is a good word.
Yeah, it's hard to describe because it's not more intense. It's
not like
spicier,
one flavor, and it's not like one note.
But there's more going on there.
Yeah.
Mostly stayed pretty similar. Kind of the ramping up of the sweetness and the citrus and that little bit of bitterness came in like Coop talked about. And then really for me the evolution of the retrohale.
Dennis, I'm picking up some notes here. I'm hoping you in particular are picking it up too. But that's the only hint I'll give. So, anything special about this first third experience that you're getting?
Yeah, man. So that nori thing that I mentioned earlier, I really loved that papery crispness and at the beginning of the cigar. I love that the minerality that came out akin to nori. I'm very careful not to say umami because it's a very specific kind of profile. It's not the umami that comes out of it. It's the minerality. And now that I've smoked through, well, actually, I'm smoking a little fast. I'm
Jesus Christ.
Close to finishing now. To Aaron's point, it's an very open draw. It's very easy to kind of forget yourself and run through the cigar because it tastes great and you kind of want to puff on it. You want to taste and experience it. And what I'm noticing now is that nori is becoming more intense. It's stickier on the palate. I love the stickiness. It's the same. It's akin to like if you have an onigiri and you have the seaweed on the outside that sort of starts to get a little wet and sticky in your palate when you eat it. It's like that for me. And maybe today's, Japanese themed day for me. Maybe that's why my palate tuned to it. But I love that. I love that quality to it. I've been really enjoying it. Much of the similar flavors, caramel, I think it was Aaron that mentioned the caramel quality. It's really cool. That's now more pronounced for me. And also, again, I suspect because he and I love to smoke a little faster, just by nature of the way, when we sit down and smoke a cigar, we kind of run through it a little quick. But yeah, man, very exciting. And the nori thing maybe is it's going to be my sticking point for the cigar. And it has been for the last 6 of these that I've had.
I'm getting some of that minerality that you're talking about too, Dennis. But for me, that creaminess that's still like a resounding prominence on my palate too has kind of morphed into a very lactose, kind of a milky kind of creaminess. So that's why I thought you might pick it up too. So to me, kind of, there's a little bit of a kind of a, again, a more milkiness, sweetness to that creaminess for me. Not quite sweet cream, but not quite like vanilla or vanilla ice cream or anything like that. Just kind of milky. The minerality on the retrohale for me is really good, and the construction, like everybody else is talking about, is pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
Again, I'm having to set this down so I don't puff on it too fast. Or, one of these days, Coop's gonna have to give a clinic on how to smoke a cigar slowly, so we can all try to figure that out.
It's like a creamsicle I'm getting in a lot of ways. This creaminess and that citrus sweetness coming in there. It's almost like a little bit of a creamsicle you're getting.
Would you say that it's akin to an Orange Julius experience?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if we're going deep here.
Yeah.
It's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's as creamsicle as it gets.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's the bedrock of creamsicle.
There you go. We could have Justin do creamsicle, toasted almond, and strawberry shortcake trilogy.
Or call it the mall edition and have it like Orange Julius and the Esparro pizza.
Oh yeah. Don't forget hot dog on a stick.
Yeah, I said
Oh,
hot
yeah.
dog on a stick. Yeah.
The
Well,
undulation
yeah,
of the
And
chain.
the smell of Aunt Annie's pretzels.
Oh, see, I can see Dojo doing the corn dog
I
cigar.
can't do that.
I'm waiting for Dojo to do the corn dog cigar.
They might.
Yeah, I
They
can.
might.
I predict. he
What
will
is
do
it that they're churning? Is it the dough? Is it the dough mixture or is it their lemonade? What are they pounding back there?
it's the
I
With
dough.
thought
such
it was the
fervor.
lemonade. I thought it was the lemonade.
It's a lemonade,
It's
right?
the lemonade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
lemonade's fantastic. I don't even care about the corn dogs as much as the lemonade and hot dog on a stick.
You know,
And I always have to have a slice of Sbarro pizza. I don't know why. I just do.
you gotta with the dough. What the trick is, you gotta let it over ferment just a little bit, so it gets that funk to it. That's I think the secret in a lot of pizzas, a lot of doughs, a lot of different things. I suspect that's what it is.
I
The
don't know.
secret is the funk.
It's the funk. It's always
Yep.
the funk.
Secret
Funk.
power.
Secret.
It's always the
Funky-
funk.
All right. Well,
Funkadelic.
we'll be back with our second, third impressions here in just a few moments. So be sure to stick around and check it out. So
We're back.
and welcome back, everybody. We are smoking the Johnny Tobacconaut from Room 101 Toro size here on Roundtable number 16, a special collaboration with Oso Fumar Takes, featuring Operation Airdrop to benefit our friend Ben Lee and all of his neighbors in Western North Carolina as they're dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Check out Operation Airdrop online, and you can donate specifically for this disaster or donate to the organization as a whole. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Western North Carolina. And we also want Mother Nature to take a week off because our good friend Trip is in the lines of another tropical storm now. Could be classified as a hurricane later. Hopefully it stays on that lower end of the spectrum for Trip and his family and everyone in Western Florida. So
Yeah. Hey, Bear, just two quick notes before we get into it. First of all, for folks who the website, I think we put the link out there already. So folks don't know, again, Operation Airdrop, they work on handling supplies, obviously delivering those supplies, but they need money to do that. So the donations you do will help get the money there. So definitely check out that link. Please do that. The other person we should mention, who we really didn't mention tonight, who's also very much affected in that area, is our good friend Jason Robnott from Christoph Cigars, who lives in the Asheville area right now. So I know he's been going through a lot there too. So for folks who know him, keep him in your thoughts and prayers as well, because he's dealing with also stuff up there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about we are smoking again, the Room 101 Johnny Tobacconaut, the 2023 release. As we mentioned earlier, there's the 3 iterations of this particular cigar. And we are smoking its latest edition. We are on to the second, third. So let's go ahead and kick things off with Dennis. What was your experience like in the second, third?
Man, it's hard to say because I'm just at
Holy
the
shit.
Overachiever.
half inch of the cigar. I've loved it so much. I've been enjoying it so much that I can't stop myself. It's been very much the same. I like that the spices ramped up a little bit. And certainly part of that is my smoking styles pretty quick. I want more. I need more of these. This is the last one I had. I need to get some more. We got to talk about this. But that's about it. Fantastic. It's been fantastic. I'm still nubbing this thing, desperately trying to smoke the last remnants of the cigar. Burning fingers.
Were there anything specific in the transition from the first third to the second third?
Yeah, so the caramel that Aaron brought up really popped out for me and intensified in the final third. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. All right. Well,
you guys are going to freak out. So I'm having that made in petite Coronas, man.
Hell yes.
I don't know when or if we're going to release them, but I'm going to make sure you guys get some.
Nice.
So I'm gonna be packing them. Yeah.
Sign me up. Let's go.
Excellent.
That'll be spice amplification.
Yeah. Spicification.
There you go.
Yep.
Look at Coop. Look at him.
Progressive. What are you going to do?
He is. He's a progressive dude.
Coop, let's talk about your second, third experience.
It really the second, third kind of continued where the first, third left off. A lot of nice sweetness and citric notes. Past the midway point, I'd say the strength's amped up to more of a medium now. In the medium range, the some of the citrus started to recede a bit, and I definitely started to get that spice. It's more of that white pepper and black pepper mix I'm getting. And there's some cedar and woody notes that are also emerging with this right now, and everything's balancing out really nicely right now. So I feel like nothing's really overshadowing. The creaminess has subsided by this point as well too, but nonetheless, I think all the flavors are playing very nice together, and continuing to make a very enjoyable experience as I'm almost at the end of the second, third right now.
Yeah, for me, the second third was interesting. It was almost a tale of two halves within that third. After the first third, which was really enjoyable, it kind of took again, this was my experience tonight. Took an interesting turn into some sharp tannic wood. There was kind of really a little bit more of abrasive. The creaminess kind of died off relatively quickly, which was interesting. Which it hasn't really been consistent with the experiences that I have before. But then suddenly again, I don't know if it was because I let the cigar sit down for a while, or if I was because I purged it or something like that. Halfway through the second third, those flavor notes from the original first third kind of came back, so a little bit more consistency. I got a little bit more of that cereal came back. The pepper was a lot more sharp, especially on the retrohale. For me, I was getting a lot more of that black pepper that we've been talking about too. That minerality is really still sinking in. I love minerality in a cigar. So that was really kind of welcome. But that was an interesting kind of turn within the second, third for me. So, Trip.
I mean, really kind of echoing what you guys have been saying. I would classify, I'm trying to think of who said what. Coop said bitterness. Dennis said caramel. To me, it reminds me of like a burnt caramel, like just
Yeah.
a little bit of bitterness,
Yeah.
but mostly a sweetness.
Right. It's not offensive or aggressive, is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
when you burn something and like when you burn rice and it infiltrates all of the flavor, turns into that burnt flavor. No, it's that kind of like extra toasty caramel, you know?
Yeah, is there anything worse than burnt popcorn? Like one burnt piece of popcorn in the whole
Oh yeah,
bag
burnt popcorn is a bad one too.
ruins the entire bag.
Hey now,
Ruins the bag.
you got to talk about green tea. Now we get into the genmai cha, and genmai cha is toasted rice green tea, which has a really wonderful toasted. Losing my voice. Wonderful toasted quality to it that has some fullness, which is, I think, what I kind of got toward the end of the cigar. Not to stick on the Japanese theme too heavy, but there is something there, man. I think Matt can back me up. I know he's got some.
You're fully backed. You're fully backed.
Aaron, what about you? The second, third experience?
Yeah, so I think it's a solid medium. I think the black pepper has ramped up. So Trip was talking about what I was gonna say. It reminded me of a little bit of like a burnt marshmallow, like when you get like a char at the fire and you get a little bit of that burnt to it. It's got a little bit of that what I think kind of Coop said, that woodiness. There's a little more woodiness to it.
Yep.
So it's got that. So I just kind of equated that a little bit to like a burnt when you take a marshmallow and kind of light it on fire. So it's still that a little bit of that sweetness, but it's got that, we'll say the bitterness to it, but a little bit of that toastiness with the woodiness. Still burned great. Still open draw, medium. The creaminess has died down a little bit in the second, third versus the first, but still really enjoying the cigar.
Yep.
All right, so Booth, I know you have to go here in a couple of minutes, but before you did, I'm going to be asking this question later when we do scores. So I'm prepping you guys for this to not do it. So
101
a lot of
points.
a lot of
Thank you.
Well, that's predictable. You're room 101, man. Come on, think about this. All right, so but Coop and I obviously do a particular theme show a couple times a year called our Mount Rushmore series, and we feature a brand and we say, these are the cigars that we would feature from that brand on it's their Mount Rushmore, and we map it to the presidents and everything, and we have this wonderful dialogue around it. So without getting too complicated into it, this being your favorite blend that you've created, I would assume that it's on your Mount Rushmore. I'm going to be asking the panel later on in the show when we give final scores if this cigar makes their Room 101 Mount Rushmore. We're not necessarily going to all their other picks, but I just want to know if it makes their Mount Rushmore for Room 101. So prepare yourself, gentlemen. That is a question for later as we go into scores. But I will ask you, Matt, what are the other 3 cigars that make up your Mount Rushmore? Or am I completely off that this wouldn't make your Mount Rushmore?
Do they have to be from my brand?
Ooh. You know what?
Or
I'll leave it.
Or are we staying brand centric? Because I feel like no matter what, even if it was cigars from my brand, one cigar on my Mount Rushmore would be the Padron Anniversary 64 Principe, natural wrapper. Johnny Tobacconaut, the Moon Man, his beautiful helmet would be chiseled in stone, alongside the other guys. I definitely would place Farce Maduro on Room 101's Mount Rushmore. And I would place the original Namakubi Ecuador on Room 101 Cigars Mount Rushmore.
Great cigar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Those are my picks.
Nice.
Did I pick enough? Or do I have another?
Yeah,
I think I have another.
That's 4.
Was that
That's
4?
There we go.
Padron,
Yeah.
Jonathan P. Tobacconaut,
Jonathan P.
Farce Maduro, and the original Namakubi Ecuador.
There we go.
Okay. Interesting. I was wondering if you were going to pick any of the master collections.
Look, man, there have been a lot of phenomenal blends that we've released over the years. If we were going to include master collection, I would definitely go with the third in the Petite Corona. But we would have to chisel another cigar onto Mount Rushmore for that.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Mhm.
Nice. All right. Has anyone else not gone on the second, third? Everyone else has talked about it, right? Yeah, I think I've got everybody. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to take our final break before we come back and give our final thoughts on the last third and our scores. So definitely stay tuned for that. And welcome back to Roundtable number 16 with special collaboration of Oso Fumar Takes for our special collaboration show featuring and supporting the good folks in Western North Carolina via Operation Airdrop. We are smoking the Room 101 Johnny Tobacconaut Toro. I'm here with Will Cooper, Dennis Fang, Aaron Nielsen, and Trip Waldrop. And we are on our final third. So we're going to give our last third thoughts and then talk about the smoking experience as a whole. And we'll talk about the last third first, and then we'll circle back to do our overall experience and scores here right now. So, Trip, I don't think we've started with you. Let's go ahead and hear your thoughts here.
I mean, final third is really just a culmination of the flavors that came before it. The increasing in intensity of, in particular, that that burnt caramel, kind of very slight bitterness, burnt sugar, caramelized sugar, maybe is the right word. The increasing of those layers of spice that we talked about on the retrohale. It almost reminds me a little bit of horseradish at this point. Like it's really got that spice to it for me. And then I found in the final third, the sweetness kind of came back a little bit, more than it was in the second third. Yeah.
How was your overall construction experience? Any relights, any touch-ups, any issues like that?
I relit twice, but I think it was it felt like my fault because I had set the cigar down and talked for a couple minutes or something like that. Can't always blame it on the cigar.
Okay. Coop, what about your last third?
A little different than Trip. And this is I've reviewed this, so it's kind of documented in there. The last third wasn't quite as enjoyable as the first 2/3. It got a lot more tannic. It lost the woody notes, kind of got, like I said, more, were a little more merged. Some of the nice sweetness that I got from the citrus, it just really wasn't there anymore. The pepper spice leveled off. It just wasn't as enjoyable as those first 2/3, which are fantastic. As you mentioned construction, the construction is really great on this cigar. I have no qualms. The drawer a little looser than maybe I would go, but nonetheless, it didn't have any adverse effects other than just make sure you don't like blow through it and smoke it, like Aaron said earlier on.
Alrighty. Dennis.
Well, judging by the fact that I completely smoked this thing down until my fingers turned purple and blistered, I have blistered fingers from smoking this thing down. I loved it, and the flavor quality, not the quality, but the profile. From the second third, I mentioned the caramel notes. Trip made a great point. The burnt caramel flavor quality to it transitioned perfectly into the final little nub that I had. I love this thing completely to the end. And listen, the fact that I smoked this as fast as I did, it speaks volumes about how great this tobacco is and the blend is and the cigar itself, the construction. It was very forgiving. Where, oftentimes we'll smoke a cigar really fast, it kind of bites back a little bit. You get some astringency, you'll get some kind of acridness to it. I didn't get any of that with this. I loved it to the very end. And the only thing I'd say is I'm sad that it's gone. I've smoked this thing and I'm sad it's not here anymore. I want more of it.
Aaron.
Yeah, so I'll go a little bit about what Coop said. So I got it to me, the pepper got up a little higher. Still stayed medium bodied. I thought the woody component, kind of the cedar, the woody was much more prominent in the last third. I think there was still a hint of sweetness, but it wasn't nearly the creaminess and the sweetness for the first 2/3, of the cigar, which are fantastic. What I will say, what I really liked about this cigar, because when we've done other cigars, whether it's been for the review or we just talk about it, so often that the last third gets that muddled. You get that muddle mush, whatever flavor. This one does not have that muddled. Now, it's not as enjoyable in the last third as the first two. However, you can still pick out the flavor profiles, what Matt, I think, was trying to achieve. There's some of that minerality as well on the final third. But look, I mean, from a draw, much rather have an open draw than a tight draw because I can control the open draw. I smoked it very fast. I mean, so you got to be careful with it. But for this cigar, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it when we rank it or give our ratings. Kind of in the morning, like a cup of coffee or something like that, I think would go just outstanding. So while the final third wasn't as good as the first two, still very enjoyable for me.
Does anyone so my experience is the same too. Like it was really hard to not smoke and enjoy this as quickly as it probably would have burned. We talked about the burning of it, how quickly it was going through the cigar. That's pretty consistent with most Vitolas. The Toro, I feel like, smokes a lot faster than all.
Yes.
The Figurado is probably by design smokes the slowest. But like I would even say the Gordo smokes faster. Yes, Coop, I've smoked the Gordo in this particular blend. But it's as much as I enjoy the smoking experience and did tonight as well too. That is one of the detractors for me with this particular cigar. Is that it does finish so quickly. Because again, I'd want to savor it a little bit more. And I don't think there's anything you can do about it. I think it's just the way that the blend is comprised, considering how consistent that's been. That being said, the last third for me was a little bit still a little bit creamy. It still had a little bit of the nuances of everything that we've kind of talked about. There was some milkiness, some creaminess, some cereal, some citrus, some minerality, particularly on the nose. I did have to relight it twice in the last third tonight, which isn't particularly too bad, but it does detract a little bit from the experience for me. But I really enjoy this blend. Really, really do. My particularly favorite Vitola is the Robusto, ironically, even though I talk about how fast the smoking experience is, the Robustos do smoke pretty quick. But that's my favorite Vitola, which is, pretty typical of me. Aaron talked about how he likes the Toro. This is his favorite size. And are there any other favorite Vitolas or any other Vitola experiences that you guys want to talk about in this particular blend?
Yeah, I thought the Robusto was superior. In fact, I'm sorry I didn't review the Robusto when I did, and I will give it. The Robusto to me was better because that last third wasn't quite. It really didn't have. It didn't have it wasn't as impactful to detract the score as much. I mean, it kind of finished up similar, but it wasn't. I thought this one was unfortunately it was a little more prolonged.
The tannins aren't as pronounced in the
The
Robusto.
tannins aren't as pronounced in the Robusto. Like I said, this is still a very good cigar. The Toro wasn't my first choice of this, but I know people were high on this size, so I kind of respect that too.
Trip, Dennis, any other Vitola smoked that
I've
are
only
worthy
had
or
the
not?
Robusto and the Toro, and I think I've preferred the Toro more just because it lasts a little longer.
Yeah, same for me. Absolutely.
It might be a fun exercise to go back and try the Figurado out and see if. I mean, it smokes slower again by design. I think it might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Coop, what are your thoughts on the Gordo?
I have not had the Gordo with this.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I have
one up
not.
on
That's
you.
that's the one I have not had. I'm
That's
gonna give it a
shameful.
try.
I feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So should we get into the scores, everybody?
Can we do one thing before we get into the scores? Can we do
Sure.
crescendo of flavor?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So if folks aren't familiar with crescendo of flavor, we picked the third that was the best, basically.
Mhm.
And there's one cigar company that always says the crescendo flavor is in the last third. That's kind of how this started. So it's simple. Just pick your third that you like the best, and
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
where your crescendo of flavor was. Yeah.
Oh, Coop, kick things off. What was your
My,
favorite third?
mine was the first third, without a doubt. I thought that first third, it's as good as look, it's gonna get you into that cigar. It's good. The second third is fine, but it starts to do that change in the second third. But for me, it was definitely the first third.
Absolutely. Trip.
I like the second third of this a little bit more. I like how that spice starts to pick up. I like how the sweetness to me really starts kicking off in the second third.
Dennis.
I mean, if we're talking musical terms, crescendo, I would say my mezzo forte is very much the second third, where really kind of it's there, but I loved the final third. I loved like leading into the final third. I think that the second third of the cigar gave me an opportunity to kind of take a break before we got into the final third. And
So that transition from the second third to the last third was like your favorite part of the cigar.
the second to last was my favorite transition for the cigar. I loved it.
Interesting. Okay. Aaron.
I'm going to go the transition from the first to second. And truth be told, that first third smokes so freaking fast.
Yeah,
So,
man.
well, if it smoked a little slower, I'd probably go the first third. But like you're through that first third so fast because of the open draw and just getting into the cigar that I felt like I was into the second third really quickly. So I would say probably into that second third. But I mean, if I have to pick up first or second, I would go second because I think the second it develops into the flavor that it's intended. That first is excellent, but it's just so fast that I'll go with the second third.
Interesting. For me, that I normally in the Robustas and the Toros that I've smoked in this particular blend, I normally would say the second third. With this experience specifically tonight, the second third had that weird turn for me from the first transition to the second third. It was weird that it just kind of went a different direction. Really not consistent with other experiences of smoking this particular blend. So that was just I guess a one-off. I'll take it. But I mean, it wasn't like the worst tasting thing in the world, but it just was definitely different from the experiences that I've had before. So the second third, not this time, so it was the first third for me. But like to your point, Aaron, like it just goes so quickly. I thought I was in the second third, like a few puffs in actually. So like, and
Yeah.
it's the ultimate for me. It's the ultimate detractor of this particular cigar. I really like it. I really do. We're gonna get into scores here in a little bit. But that smokes so flipping fast, and I mean it definitely doesn't prohibit me from going back for more, you know. So it's not, I guess it's not too much of a detractor, but you know, if I'm nitpicking the blend, it does smoke pretty quick, but you know, which is which I find it's interesting. Does anyone else find this interesting, considering we were talking about the girth of the wrapper and just how substantial that is? And you'd think that it would smoke a little bit longer.
Well, I agree with that, except just the draw is so open. I mean, it's just you have to really be careful. Because I mean, I can smoke this thing. If I was not putting it down and just, watching something smoking, I could probably get through this thing in 45 minutes, which is, I mean, even fast for me for a Toro. Toro's usually an hour for me. This thing, without even trying, I can get it down in 45 minutes. So, look, I love the flavor, so it's fine, but I mean, it's a fast burn.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Alrighty. All right, guys. Well, let's get into those overall thoughts of this particular cigar and your final scores. So, I think I will kick things off with Dennis.
So final thoughts. I absolutely love, and again, to Aaron's point on the burn thing, it burns very quickly. Kudos to the cigar and the blend and everything else. The fact that us that smoke it quicker have a really great experience, and it doesn't turn into like an acrid shit bomb, to be fair, if I may say that way. Just a great cigar, man. Scoring wise, truth be told, I am not down on the sickness with scoring necessarily. if I really had to, if I had to pick a number, I don't know. It's high for me. I would say this is one of my favorite cigars in 2024. This is my top 3 personally. And I would score it at a 90, 94. Is that what you scoring people? Is that reasonable for you scoring folks?
It's your particular opinion, man. So
It's your opinion,
it's a 100 point.
it's
It's
a
100-point scale. So if you're on a 94, I mean that's an amazing score.
If you want to call it a 103, that's up to you, buddy.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, we don't see a whole lot of cigars in the 60s, right? In 65 range.
Right.
But I can think of a couple of cigars that I've smoked in the 65 range. Yeah. So anyway, I think this is a really great cigar. I think it rates really highly for me personally, and I suspect it would rate similarly for a lot of other people. Gentlemen, you let me know what you think. I'm curious how you feel about
that. Coop's already scored this on the review, so I'm anxious to see if tonight's experience was consistent with that experience on the review, or if it was if it differed. So Coop, let's go with you.
Well, again, we review a cigar on size, and this I scored it on the site in 89, and it basically was the same here. It's an 89. That's not a bad score, right? But it was lower than the Robusto would have scored for sure, which probably would have got a 90 on that. Now, that being said, this is still a cigar for $10, right? Where, like I said, it didn't have quite I thought the Robusto had a little more wow factor to it. But for $10, this Toro is a very good cigar to have. And like I said, 89 in my world is not a bad score. I'm not knocking this cigar. I'm certainly recommend you buy this cigar, but I'd probably say buy the Robusto and see, as well, and see what you think about that. But the Robusto was my favorite of the 3. So it's an 89, solid. I think it would if the last third didn't take a downturn, this would have also did what the Robusto did and got a 90.
Okay, so we got a 94 from Dennis and 89 from Coop. Aaron, you've smoked boxes of these, man. Was tonight's experience pretty consistent with all those others?
Yeah. So a couple things. This is going to come as high praise. You guys know that for the last 7 years, every day I have smoked the High Clear Castle, and I continue to. So it's by 30 boxes a year. If for some reason Nick would to no longer produce the High Clear Castle, this is what I would smoke in the mornings every day. Or if I start going on a budget,
hugely high praise.
That is huge high praise. Yeah.
I know. Or if I would go on a budget crunch, I might have to switch to this because to Coop's point, it's cheaper. It's a very reasonably priced cigar.
Right.
I love the cigar. I absolutely love it. I'm torn. I'm going to go because I have a tendency to rate a little bit more friendly or higher on the scale than Coop does. I'm going to go 93 for everything I've said. Now, I have not had it in the Robusto, I've only smoked the Toro of this, so I'm interested. I may pick up a box of the Robustos. But for me, as I mentioned, morning with a cup of coffee, which I've done it before. It's great for me. It's medium bodied, it's flavorful, burns great, very quick, but burns great. The flavor profile for me is right up my alley. So I'm gonna go 93, and again, this is definitely a box purchase for me, which I've bought multiple boxes. So as probably you guys could have guessed throughout my review and what the flavor notes I was getting and my thoughts of this, really like this cigar.
It's a fight Chuck Norris for you, right? It's a fight Chuck Norris cigar.
It's close. It's close.
That's a pretty high
All right.
level.
All right. Trip, do you mind if I go last? You want to go first?
No, I don't mind at all. I was thinking 93 as well. This is very high up for me on Connecticut's. Might be my favorite Connecticut right now, but that's hard to say because there's a lot of good Connecticut's out there. But this, like everybody else has said, this is a great cigar. Absolutely fantastic blend.
And I'll also say too, what you guys asked, Matt, this is my favorite Room 101. Truth be told, I've smoked a lot of the different stuff. Not everything has hit my profile. This one does, and so this one is definitely my favorite Room 101 cigar.
I agree with that.
That's how we're gonna finish the night. So yeah, no, we're gonna ask if this cigar goes on your Room 101 Mount Rushmore. I have a feeling I know the answers to this a little bit. So, but my final thoughts on this particular smoking experience of the Toro. Man, God, I am totally going to be the one that shits on this party. This is crazy.
Matt deserves it.
That
Don't feel
interesting
bad.
that interesting transition from the first third to the second third was a really was a little off-putting to me. Was not consistent with my other smoking experiences, like I mentioned before, but it recovered incredibly well. So I really enjoyed the remaining part of the second third, and then the last third with a couple of relights that that obviously took away a little bit from the experience, and it did become a little bit of acrid in the final couple of puffs for me, which is why I put it down. But overall, I mean, I really enjoy this blend. I think it's fantastic. I was high on it at the trade show when I smoked it for the first time, and I talked to you guys about it. And I really love the cigar. I do favor it in the Robusto. If we were smoking previous experiences in the Robusto, I could see myself getting in that high 91, 92 range. But for me tonight, this Toro smoking experience, I am going to be the low man tonight. I'm going to be at an 88, which is definitely not a bad score.
We had a wide
especially-
range on you and I.
But
This is
this-
one of the wider ranges we've had on this actually, which is I think
Yeah,
fun when
absolutely.
it happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so-
just think, I mean, look, everybody's entitled. But for me, an 88. And look, I know this is not about. I just think I've smoked 88s before, and for me personally, is not an 88. So that I'm surprised you're that low. I know I probably rate quote unquote higher.
No, there's no wrong answer here. I would say.
No, it's not a wrong. I'm just surprised you didn't rate. Just knowing that everything you said about the trade show, Bear, and you've smoked this in the past, and your thoughts of it, I'm surprised you gave it 88.
I would say my other smoking experiences with the Toro are going to be on that line with Coop 89s and 90s. My Robusto smoking experience is 91, 92s all day. Like, I think it's that superior, in my opinion. I love the blends. I love the blends. If this was if tonight, like, here's an indication of my score. Like, Coop has said this before. I tend to score a little hard, particularly at the round table, because again, it's all about that particular smoking experiences. We're allowed to nitpick. We're allowed to kind of dive deep into it. Try to really kind of zone in on the cigar. If that was my if tonight's experience was my smoking experience for the Toro every single time, I would still buy Toros in this blend. So, if that's any indication of how much
Right. That's why
my enjoyment of the
I was
blend.
80. I would have said 90. I thought you were going 90, but that's all right.
Yeah.
No right or
So-
wrong.
So, so we have my score of the 88. Coop was at an 89. Trip, you were at a 93.
Yep.
Aaron, 93 as well.
Yep.
And Dennis was the high mark of a 94. So some high praise for Johnny Tobacconaut from Room 101, the Toro size. I think it's fair to say we all recommend this one. Go out and get you a box. Coop and I certainly favor the Robusto. But Robusto or Toro, I don't think you can miss on this in particular. I actually enjoyed the Gordo too, much to Coop's delight. But I definitely favored these two Vitolas and the Perfecto if you guys want to try something different, or the Figurado rather. Maybe a slower smoking experience if you're afraid of it getting away from you. So, so again, I think our scores kind of answer that question. So Aaron, you kind of kicked us off tonight. Would this particular cigar finish up on your Room 101 Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
I think it's a resounding yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I gotta be. I've smoked Nakatamale, not the Nakatamale, the Namakuma, the
Namakubi?
Yep. Some of the farce, and I love the farce Maduro. I mean, so I like a lot of his stuff, but this one for me is his best cigar for me.
Awesome. And Dennis, I mean, with that score, it has to be on your Room 101 Mount Rushmore as well.
I want it. Yes, I'm gonna put it in my number one Mount Rushmore for Room 101. Definitely.
So your favorite Room 101 smoked?
And again, I got down on one shot, one kill for a long time, and it got a lot
The
of
OG, the original one?
yeah, the OG.
God, that was fucking phenomenal.
It got some crap, I think, in certain circles, but anyway, it's all subjective at the end of the day, right? But I think like this is my new go-to Room 101 cigar.
Awesome.
Easily.
Trip.
I'm kind of in the same boat with Aaron. Some of the Room 101 stuff over the years hasn't quite hit for me. But this is one of the ones that does. The other ones that I think of are the farce. Matt gave me a lot of shit for calling it the farce one time.
Yeah, it's farce.
Farce, the tea I really liked, and the 12th anniversary. I'll put those on my Mount Rushmore.
By the way, the
12th.
tea. I didn't think about the tea. That is a great cigar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I didn't put that in the Room 101 bucket, but that is a fantastic cigar.
Hit and run, the tea, good stuff. Farce Maduro. I'm a big fan of that cigar too. Coop, what about you?
So you look at the Mount Rushmore, original Namakubi and original Daruma make it. There's no if, and, or but that those two cigars are going to make it. And then I got to put Osak as the third. So that fourth spot, I'm basically weighing out Farce Maduro, the Johnny Tobacconaut version 3, or the Room 101 Connecticut. And Room 101 Connecticut beats both of those. So I'm going Room 101 Connecticut.
Wow.
The Robusto would have, like, the Robusto was in the running for that. That's what I'm saying. But I think that original Connecticut, it was, and people just don't remember how good that cigar was.
That cigar was fucking phenomenal.
I mean, look, and like I said, they did a fine job with Johnny Tobacconaut. I think they've done General's done a nice job with this brand, and the blends have been good, but it's hard for me to knock any of those four cigars off, is what I'm saying. Osak, Daruma, original Namakubi, and original Connecticut. So it just falls short here.
Yeah. It makes my round much more for sure too. Particularly specifically the Robusto.
I'm the only one that missed for it. Then I'm the only one that missed it. Yeah.
I was really curious because Matt and I have had this discussion. He's very fond of the Master Collection number 3. To me, out of the 3 Master Collections, it
was really good.
Probably my least favorite of the Master Collections as a whole. Like
which was the Maduro? Which was the Maduro? Which was the Maduro?
That
was the best one. The Maduro was the best one.
Yeah. The Master Collection number 1 for me was fantastic. Daruma Gold for me, it still remains one of the best cigars that I've ever smoked, and that I've really cherished from him. So I hope he brings it back. But so that was kind of our curveball segment. So just permit me, guys, here. Got to pay homage to the people who support us. This was our curveball segment, which is brought to you by Dunbar Tobacco and Trust. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter since the company's inception. Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park 9 consecutive years in consensus top 3. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. But I wanted to ask, one final question before we trail off into the night here. And Coop kind of alluded to it earlier too, and he said it just a second ago. As far as acquisitions is concerned, and we can name off a few where STG and Forged have done literally nothing with it. In the case of like Balmoral. or have done other things with it that just haven't been as favorable, or maybe have. Is it fair to say? And I'm leading with my this is a leading question, so I apologize because I firmly believe I think they've done the best job of putting out releases post acquisition with this brand than any other acquisition that they've done, Alec Bradley included. And but I think they've done a phenomenal job with this brand. How did Coop? It sounds like you might be in agreement with me here, but
Yeah, to quote the legendary or hideous Jets coach Rich Kotite, depending on how you want to, he used to have an expression called "without question." This one has been the best. Bear, for exactly what you said, this has been the best acquisition. Balmoral was a little different because remember it was a different reason why they were acquired, but the brand wasn't done well with Balmoral. So I mean, I'm looking at Tarano was one, Alec Bradley another, but this one, in my opinion, it was a great move, and the most of the cigars that they've come out with have been very good. So I'm very pleased with what STG's done with this. I didn't just say that because Matt was on. I do believe that.
yeah.
Well, I think to piggyback off of that, though, I would agree with Coop, and I think Matt touched on it a little bit. He's still involved, right? So if you look at some of the other acquisitions, the Alec Bradley piece, I don't know how much they're still involved. You guys would probably know better than I do, probably do know better than I do. But I think with Matt still being involved, which I think was maybe a question, right? Anytime you get acquired, like what's his involvement going to be? I mean, how is he going to be part of the acquisition? Is he going to ride off in the sunset and do something else? It sounds like not only is he involved, but involved heavily, which I think bodes well to keeping the brand consistent and what it's meant to be. So I think they're going about it the right way. Time will tell, but I think without question, this has been their best acquisition.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yep. I mean, Justin didn't fuck this up. So
Somehow.
we kid Justin, but no, this is and look, we kid Justin, but I think there's been a good synergy with Justin and Matt. And I think that's played a key role with that.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
So
And here's a quick point to it, and I don't think it would have been fair to ask this question with Matt on, just because I think it would have been slightly uncomfortable. But I think, to Justin's credit, and because Matt's had some partnerships over the years that I think we could characterize as some were successful, some were not successful, some were successful to a point.
Yep. I think that's a fair assessment.
I think this one, top to bottom, beginning to end, or not to end, but beginning to so far, has been his most successful partnership that he's had. Which is, I mean, look, we like to rag on STG quite a bit, and we like to rag on Justin therefore quite a bit too. But I mean, I really applaud the entire STG organization, Justin, for really embracing Matt and
let him be himself. Yeah,
exactly. It was kind of very apparent tonight. He hasn't lost that Matt Boothness. He's still himself, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Room 101 wouldn't be without Matt Booth, and Matt Booth wouldn't be Matt Booth without being Matt Booth. So
yeah. And Bear, we should also say that Justin, we were trying to get Justin. He had a legitimate reason why he couldn't be on, just so you know. So
yeah, no, he wanted to be on. Absolutely,
but there was a higher priority, and we totally understand that. So yeah, I just wanted to let people know.
Yeah, no. Shout out to Justin. He's actually the one who he actually got me in touch with Matt. I can reach out to Matt anytime I want. I have a good relationship with him, but he actually took care of that for me. So really shout out to Justin for getting Matt on tonight's show.
Absolutely.
Being on board for what we were doing tonight, supporting Western North Carolina. Justin's from the South, and these are communities that he's spent a lot of time in. So this is really near and dear to his heart too.
Yeah.
So I think he's even got some family in Western North Carolina too, which is really important.
Yep.
But for all those families out there that are suffering, and in dire straits from the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, we really our thoughts are really go out to you, our prayers as well. Check out, but if you guys are tuning in, this will be obviously in the show notes as well. It's in the chat earlier. Check out Operation Airdrop, great organization, And this is a real fast acting organization. I mean, they were the first one up that you could see, Coop, right? That your wife found.
She found them, yeah. And I know when we were on the break, I talked a little about they're very transparent. So there is an administrative fee. You have the option of not paying the administrative fee if you don't want to. I'd encourage folks to do it because there's a cost to run a system like this, unfortunately. So, they have to pay to have someone collect these donations. But if you so feel that's not your choice, and you certainly can uncheck the box, and it will tell you exactly, what your donation. So I think it's a very transparent site, and I think the work they're doing is really, really. I got hats off to my wife. She found this one. Bear was asking me, "Do you know anything?" I said, "Yeah, my wife found this one," and she right away she kind of reached out and wanted to do something. So yeah,
they've been solid.
Special thanks to Lisa Cooper on this one. So
absolutely, the unsung hero behind the scenes. Yeah.
1,000%. So, thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. You can always tune into our Facebook Live on Oso Fumar every Sunday night at 9:30 Central. Normally, we started a little bit early tonight to accommodate some schedules, and we were happy that everyone could join us tonight. If you are tuning into us later via podcast, whether you can always tune in on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, including iHeartRadio. Tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Tonight's major point, which of course was our review of the Room 101 Johnny Tobacconaut Toro, was also brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars from the fertile lands of Honduras. George Rico and his family put together the very best vintages for you, the cigar smoker. For value-based hits like Corojo No. 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary, it's a special projects like Zulu. Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making pinnacle cigars for the market. Culture, tradition, quality, premium handcrafted. That is Gran Habano Cigars. You can also check us out on YouTube later, the Smoking Syndicate or Oso Fumar channels, and catch the show later on. Be sure you hit the subscribe button, and be sure to hit that little bell as well so you can get notified whenever a new video from Smoking Syndicate drops, or Oso Fumar as well. You can also check out Cigar Coop and the guys from Let's Get Pairing who are part of our panel tonight. They had a great show earlier tonight. You definitely want to check that out if you missed it. And we've got some great stuff going on. Trip, Dennis, what do you guys have on the menu for next week?
Haven't decided yet. I am not certain I will have power because we have a storm rolling in, and the last time a storm this bad hit us, we were without power for 9 days. So we'll see how it works this time.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you and your family stay well, man, and especially with the latest newest addition to the Waldrop family.
Absolutely.
With the baby, that's no fun. So we wish you all the best this week.
Thank you,
and pray for Mother Nature to decide to change its course and just avoid the entire state of Florida altogether would be wonderful. So, guys, any other notes? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple of notes on Coop. Just announced, but we literally just got confirmation right before the show. Primetime episode 319. We have Ian Reese of Dapper Cigars who's going to be on. So that will be on Thursday night. And then a week from Monday, we are doing a show. Dave Burke and I on Jukebox 141. We're doing a show on The Cure.
Oh,
Nice.
boy. All right.
So, we are doing a show on The Cure. The joke of the show is The Cure, They Rule. And by the way, that is primetime episode 320. I gave you the wrong number. So for the Ian show. But yeah, we'll do 141 is going to be The Cure, They Rule. And that is not my personal opinion of The Cure. It's kind of an expression growing up in college it came up with. So I'll talk the story back. It's a long story, but so check that out. So The Cure is making a comeback album. So we jump right on that stuff when it happens. So check out that.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Very nice.
From the Perdomo Black Studios of Indian Trail, North Carolina, the Rockin' Vodka Studios of Illinois, and the Casa de Monte Cristo Studios of Florida. I'm sitting here in the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. For everyone out there, he's Aaron, he's Dennis, he's Trip, he's Coop, and guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.